When Jake Martinez saw 95 Harley-Davidsons roll into his crumbling garage at dawn, engines roaring like a war convoy, he honestly thought his life was over. The sound wasn't just loud, it was heavy, like judgment arriving on wheels. The night before, he had done something no mechanic in his position should ever do. He had touched the custom wheelchair of the Hells Angels vice president's daughter without permission. A chair built by top engineers. A chair everyone said was perfect. But Jake had seen something they all missed. Something that made him risk everything. Now, as leather-clad bikers surrounded his shop, faces hidden behind dark sunglasses, the club president stepping forward with fists clenched, Jake knew he had either performed a miracle or signed his own death warrant. And before we go any further, if you appreciate stories about ordinary people who risk everything to do what's right, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Emotional Twist. It really helps the channel grow. And if this story moves you even a little, share it with someone who still believes everyday heroes exist. Because sometimes they do. Now let's go back to where it all began. 14 hours earlier, Jake Martinez was just a broke mechanic trying to survive another day. But right now, standing in his garage at 6:47 in the morning, surrounded by 95 members of the Hells Angels, all he could think about was staying alive. The bikes formed a wide circle around his shop, chrome catching the sunrise, engines idling low and threatening. Jake's hands shook slightly as he held the same wrench he'd been gripping since the first rumble hit his ears. Oil stained his fingers from working all night. He was 34 years old, a former army mechanic who had survived firefights in Afghanistan. But this fear felt different. This wasn't chaos. This was organized. This was personal. He'd challenged a father. He'd questioned experts. And he'd touched the one thing no one touched without permission. Reaper stood at the front of the crowd, tall and solid, his presence quiet but crushing. When he removed his sunglasses, his eyes were cold, calculating, and fixed on Jake. Jake swallowed hard. His garage, Martinez Auto Repair, sat on the edge of Mesa where the desert crept close and businesses quietly died. The place was falling apart, but inside, every tool was perfectly aligned. That order wasn't accidental. Jake had learned it in the Army. 8 years with the 101st Airborne taught him that precision saved lives. A single bolt tightened wrong could mean someone never came home. The day before, when Reaper had first arrived with his daughter Sophie, Jake had no idea how deep he was stepping into danger. Sophie was 16, sharp-eyed, quietly observant, sitting in a wheelchair that looked more like a military prototype than a mobility device. It was expensive, advanced, impressive to anyone who didn't really understand machines. But Jake did. And within minutes, he saw what everyone else had missed. The chair wasn't broken. It was wrong. The weight distribution was off, forcing strain into Sophie's spine. The wheel alignment pulled subtly to one side, making her body compensate constantly. The brakes engaged unevenly, snapping her forward every time she stopped. And the joystick sensitivity required too much force, carving pain into her hands day after day. Sophie had been living in pain for 2 years, believing it was her fault. That hurt Jake more than anything. He'd seen this before in Afghanistan. Equipment that passed inspections but failed under real use. And when Jake told Reaper the truth, he knew the risk. He wasn't just questioning engineers. He was questioning a father who would burn the world for his child. Reaper gave him 24 hours. Fix it, or face consequences Jake didn't want to imagine. Jake worked through the night. No music, no breaks, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the quiet determination of a man who refused to let a girl suffer because experts were too proud to admit a mistake. He rebalanced the battery placement, realigned the wheels to surgical precision, reprogrammed the joystick sensitivity, modified the brake timing by milliseconds until the stop was smooth and safe. He reinforced stress points that were guaranteed to fail. He rebuilt the chair not to look impressive, but to work, to protect, to heal. By the time the sun rose, Jake's body was wrecked. His injured leg throbbed. His hands were raw. But when he stepped back and looked at the chair, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. The kind that keeps people alive. Then the bikes arrived. Reaper stepped forward, boots crunching on gravel. Jake opened the garage door slowly, the metal screaming in protest. He rolled the wheelchair into the light. Reaper studied it in silence. The silence that followed was heavier than the engines. Reaper walked around the chair slowly, inspecting every detail. Finally, he stopped in front of Jake. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Reaper did something no one expected. He extended his hand. "You saved my daughter," he said. "You told the truth when it could have gotten you killed." He turned to the bikers behind him. "From today on, this garage is under our protection." Just like that, 95 Hells Angels mounted their bikes and rode away, leaving behind silence, dust, and a mechanic who had no idea his life had just changed forever. Within weeks, word spread. Veterans came first, then bikers, then people with mobility issues who'd been told nothing could be done. Jake's garage filled with work, not because he advertised, but because people trusted him. He didn't get rich overnight, but he stopped being invisible. Sophie came by often, sometimes just to talk. And every time she rolled into that garage without pain, Jake knew he'd made the right choice. Because sometimes doing the right thing doesn't make you powerful. It makes you dangerous in the best possible way. If the story meant something to you, drop a comment below and tell us what part hit you the hardest. Stories like this remind us why emotional twist exists. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to believe that courage still matters. Because it does.